Hey there, everybody. As I sit here in my chair, doing the things that I do, I come to tell you that this is episode 105, Bardown Breakdown, and we have returning fan favorite of the podcast, Mr. Bryce from the Spill Canvas. How freaking cool is that? And before we go any further, let's just plug it. Conduit. It's coming out in like a couple of weeks. I pre-ordered it. It's one of the records that as soon as it was coming out, I was like, gotta pre-order it. Got it on one of those cool colorways. Everyone's going to be really, really jealous of me, but that's their problem and not mine. So, Bryce, welcome. How's it going?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course.
You are now elite status. You are in like I think we've only had 2 or 3 repeat guests, and you are now in that elite status. And like Tom hinted at, and Tom's been working like crazy, so he's like losing track of days, and he's saying it's a couple of weeks. But like when this episode drops, it is release week. So get your facts straight, Tom. Album's out March 5th on freaking Pure Noise Records.
Oh wow, March 5th. Yeah, I'm definitely getting my dates racked around. I've got all these records. Like I try to keep a little list of records that are coming out that like I'm interested in, and like I usually have it in like a notepad on my computer. And I probably should have just pulled up that notepad to get the date right, but I shot for the stars and I reached the atmosphere. So
That's all right.
So Bryce, other than like having probably like the perfect voice for radio, which I'm just like taking that in now, like what's been going on? 2021, looks like it's a banner year. You guys are putting out a new record. I know a lot of fun things are on the table. So, but I do understand that this record has been kind of a long time coming. So, let's get some insight from you, man. What was how long was Conduit kind of brainstormed? Like, what was the genesis of the record, and how long did it take to actually write and record it? Was it one of those that was just took so long and you kept kind of just improving it and needling it, or did it just sit on a shelf for a while?
Sure. Yeah. So, Conduit has been around. Well, we started working on it probably about 2 years ago, right around this time.
Okay.
And since we all live all over the country, we basically had to fly into a studio and spend a couple of weeks just like writing and pre-proing, just like a lot of ideas that Nick would randomly have like demoed on his laptop, or if I had demos or any of the guys have demos, just something that we can kind of start with. And then we just try to grind out those ideas. And once we get like an idea kind of pre-proed, I would track drums at night.
Okay.
And then we would kind of just build the record from there. And then once we were out of the studio, obviously, some things we did just remotely from our houses and things like that. The song Molecules, the last single that we put out, was a song that was kind of an afterthought and was done totally remote. So yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming. We sat on it for a while, kind of searching for labels or trying to decide if we were going to do it independently. And then COVID happened, and then it kind of put everything on the back burner. But at the same time, it kind of put Pure Noise on the table with the right, I don't know. It was everything just kind of came at the right time, the right offer at the right moment, and now it's finally happening. So
awesome. Yeah, and we couldn't be more stoked on it. It's and picking Pure Noise, it seems to be the smart decision. A lot of Mikey and I, a lot of our favorite bands and a lot of our favorite bands that we've discovered and bands that we've liked over time have seemed to have picked Pure Noise as their home. And it just seems that, Jake and the team there are super great, super supportive. Have you, the process, and it's a little bit different for you, obviously, because you are in a position where, you're putting out a record in still a global pandemic. So, it's a little bit different than what everyone's used to. But how has it been in terms of, getting getting press out and all that kind of stuff? Normally you'd be touring, telling thousands of people, hey, we got a new record coming out, but obviously that's not happening right now. So, how have you guys partnered with Pure Noise to, still, be in the conversation of what's coming?
Sure, yeah. So obviously going with Pure Noise, we obviously have an organic fan base because we've been around for, 15 plus years now, but it was trying to reach a little bit more younger of a fan base, and that's where some of the, Pure Noise has that reach, and they also work with the public relations company called Big Picture Media, and
Okay.
so I mean, every single release has had, just a lot of different press media outlets do different coverage of it, and that's just huge. That's stuff that you can't do on your own, or I mean, it's really just a grind to do on your own. So having
Sure.
a whole team behind you to push that definitely just helps you reach those people that wouldn't have been reached just from your organic kind of following. So
Absolutely. So, just, another quick question to throw out at you. So the band has a tremendously long lineage. Um, Other than Hive Mind, and the couple of little things you've done, it's been what, 9 years since Gestalt came out, and it's like that's a long time for for bands, and I mean, like, it's funny to like to say it that way, but in this era, it's almost like you see bands coming out with new records every 2 to 3 years. So a 9 year gap between full length to full length is pretty severe in time. But I think the other thing that does to some bands and musicians is so much changes in music over time. It's kind of like technology, right? It's like, it's like iPhones, right? It's like, every year a new freaking iPhone comes out, and they're a little different each year. But if you look at like the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 12, it's like, oh my god, these are such crazy different devices. So that in mind, listening to the singles, and they're awesome. It's still got that same Spill Canvas kind of ethos about it, where they're these really good, songs with these great pop hooks, but they've also got these like super cool, like kind of indie emo sort of verses. It's hard to put my finger on them because it's really, for me, the Spill Canvases, it's like Spill Canvassy. It's like, I've kind of turned it into like, just put a Y at the end of it, and people are like, oh yeah, no, I get what you mean. So bridging that gap, did you ever have any concern that, like, the Spill Canvas in 2021 wouldn't be able to kind of, pick up where the Spill Canvas in 2012 left off? Was that ever anything you were worried about, or not really?
I don't know if we were ever like worried or like sort of trying to live up to any hype. It's just it had been so long. We had gone through so much with member changes and Nick's whole addiction and things like that, and doing the solo album and touring as a solo band, and the reach just didn't hit, and then coming back and doing anniversary tours and being like, oh shit, people actually do care.
Yeah.
To like doing this whole album, I don't know, it's been really wild. I don't think we will ever like stray away from the core of Spill Canvas's sound, and that's just because Nick, I mean,
Yeah.
he has a very unique voice, the way he writes, his lyrical choices, his just his vocabulary is very very specific to us, and he acts like he's not a very good guitar player, but when it comes down to it, he's definitely a ripper and kind of almost duels as like a lead and rhythm player.
Okay.
So a lot of that like cool, like riffy, I don't know, like a lot of the really cool like guitar driven stuff is him, and surprisingly Landon, our bass player. They do a lot of really like a lot of the guitar writing and stuff like that. And on this new one we had Evan, which was definitely a help. He came up with a lot of cool stuff, but I think a lot of people would be surprised how much lead stuff Landon, our bass player, actually plays. So
wow, that's all.
I don't know. You got like new guys mixed in that obviously add, a little bit of like fresh energy to it, but obviously, like you said, music's evolved over time, so we're trying to stay current but still stay true to like what we are at the core of the band, and that's emo kids forever, right?
Right. Yeah, man. I love that. So real quick, drummer to drummer. Um, Looking back at all of the music the Spill Canvas has put out, I look at One Fell Swoop as like kind of a very rhythmic record. Like I think it's like a drummer's record. Like when you listen to a lot of the songs on that record, just the grooves that are going on in there are just like they're not overly flashy, but they're tight. They're great. So of the back catalog that the Spill Canvas has, are there any songs in there that like when you sit down in the kit, you're like, oh man, I'm so pumped that I get to play this because like I love this groove or I love how this goes? Or and this one, you could be honest, is there anything that like you've sat down and you've been like, why did this guy like play this? Like why why did he do this? And like and I know like with Nick, being like a very much the driving force of the band. Like, do you have that flexibility when you play, like throwing in like a different fill and like everyone turns around and looks at you and is like, all right, yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I have any like negative things to say about anything Joe did. Like Joe's an incredible drummer. He definitely had some very like big shoes to fill. But I don't think I feel restricted in any way. Like the guys kind of love my style and they don't care really what I do. They just want me to go as ham as possible.
Yeah, there you go.
I would say some of my favorite like little grooves or like kind of cool things, probably like Teleport A and B's got like some really kind of cool like ghost notey stuff.
Yeah.
All of Gestalt is like just a really good drum record, but I think you're going to be really happy when you hear the rest of Conduit because there are some really awesome four drummer songs on there.
Love it.
Very like drum driven, and I spent a lot of like basically the B room where I would like pre-pro drums was also the same room that I would like fold my cot out and sleep in at night.
Oh wow, okay.
So it's like I would wake up, roll over, there's my drum set. So I would just like get up and practice or like try to write parts, and I don't know. I spent a lot of just time playing drums during the day before our engineer would get there and record for the day. So put a lot of heart and soul on this album for sure as far as drum parts go.
Absolutely. And I mean, listening to both Firestorm and Dark Side, I mean, like cool stuff going on in there, which is awesome. And Molecules is a great track, obviously, a little bit less rhythmically there, but the beauty in that track. And I mean, anything that Sherry's on, or really any of the Duprees, I mean, like it's just kind of their voices are so unique and beautiful. But as I look at the track listing, I'm looking at it on my I have it pre-saved on Apple Music. I see this track with Nathan Hussey, which I'm kind of pumped about because I'm a huge All Get Out fan. So really kind of interested to hear his feature on that and how that song is, just because he's just one of those guys who, again, super unique, super noticeable voice. Always love features, and you guys have always had, the Spill Canvas has always had cool features, back catalog and front catalog and stuff. So anything on this record that we as listeners should be kind of listening for things that are a little bit different than what you think the Spill Canvas would normally kind of give us?
Sure. Glad you brought up Cost, because that's probably one of my favorite grooves in the verse. Like I do a lot of crazy ghost note stuff. Talk about a hard drum part. Since adding our like fifth guy, Jeff, he plays keyboards and lap steel, and also like awesome. his main gig is being like he writes scores and stuff for movies out in LA.
Okay.
So he wasn't in the studio with us, but he basically came in and added all kinds of like layers and like slide and lap steel and like just a bunch of like ambient stuff that I don't think we ever really would have experimented before. Maybe a little bit on No Really I'm Fine since the budget was so big, but
yeah,
we also have killer strings player. You guys heard the the choir in Firestorm. So
Yeah.
just trying to bring like some different like sonic elements that you guys might not be totally used to hearing in your standard like rock album.
Excellent.
Especially a song called Gallon that is definitely kind of out there in left field as far as music goes, is like if you put it like stylistically, but
Sure.
I feel like every song on the album is different enough that it's going to reach enough people. I think that hopefully people really like it. I feel like there's something on here for everyone, for every kind of listener and every like kind of age group, that I hope people love it.
Well, I have to admit, like I've been a Spill Canvas fan since pretty much day one, and the single Firestorm is like top 5 already, like favorite Spill Canvas songs. So like,
Wow.
is there going to be another track on Conduit that can top Firestorm? Because like, I'm already like, wow, this is such a solid track. Like, I love it. Am I expecting something even better?
Ooh. I think there's a lot of sleepers on there. I don't know. I love them all so much it's hard for me, but I think you'll be like impressed like overall with the whole album. Once you hear it like front to back, I think there'll definitely be some songs you're like, all right, I need to go back and listen to that one. I'm hoping, anyways.
And is there
And
going to
Fires,
be like a
sorry.
traditional like Nick storytelling song?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know if there's really like a really long kind of drawn out story song. Really, I'd say Gallon and Molecules are probably like your kind of like story, like love song. But I don't know. I'd say like compared to, I don't know. This album has a lot of more angst. I feel a little bit more like kind of grit. I would say gets a little sticky at times.
Ooh, all right. I dig that.
Yeah, I think you guys are really gonna like Cost. Akathisia is another like sleeper. I really like Molecules. I've really been digging that one. It's been growing on me a lot. Blueprints, that's another one. Nick wrote about his mom who just recently passed, and that one's crazy drum song, but the meaning behind it's so crazy. Just the sonic elements that are in it. I think you guys are really gonna like it for sure.
Yeah, and just talking about crazy drums. I mean, we didn't, I don't know if we touched on the Tide 2.0 when we last talked, but if we did, I wasn't around to talk about it, so I'm going to talk about it. So you see it a lot, right? So you see a lot of bands that have old music that they tend to resurrect for all different kinds of reasons, right? So, and personally, usually for me, that's like, I'm like, oh, here's a band cashing in on nostalgia. Like, whoop do you freaking do? And then I heard the Tide 2.0, and like I kind of ended up eating like as much crow as I could possibly eat, because oftentimes rewriting the original is a little tough. But the things you did with that song, man, just rhythmically, sonically, in groove, and just in overall the way the production came out of it. I mean, it's like you fell in love with that song again. So of all of the songs that you guys have, that you could have kind of reintroduced, why choose the Tide, and what went into the overall kind of revamping of that song for you guys?
Sure. So they had, before my time, they had done a live version that was kind of roughly based on like a rough version of what it is now.
Okay.
So we had been playing it live for a long time, and our now manager then at the time was tour managing Motion City Soundtrack, and we had a couple days off, and he's like, come do this live video at my studio.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and did it, and we released that video on YouTube of us doing, the live band version of the Tide. And then, I don't know, it was probably 2 years after that, he mentioned if we would want to have him like kind of remix the stems of what we tracked and then just put it out for shits and giggles. Like,
cool.
Who cares if it makes any money? We basically, it's just been our live version that we played for so long. And so we wanted to basically make a hard copy of it.
awesome.
For ourselves more than anything.
No, I mean, I love it. And, like I said, it's a lot of, it happens a lot. And sometimes it's just kind of like a tired rehashing, but this particular iteration of it is really, really cool. Do you guys have any plans at all to do anything like that in the future? Is it like on the table, or is this one just kind of like like you said, like a shits and giggles thing, really just for you guys?
Sure. Yeah, so we did a Bottle of Red tour, which was like we stripped everything down. And we had our violin player and a keyboard player and stuff. And so we've talked about doing maybe like a kind of a stripped down album of some favorites, and we've also talked about potentially re-recording some of the Sunset songs, because
Cool.
those were all like basically just like really rough demos with
Yeah.
no click track.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
And a lot of like mistakes. And so being able to do that with the way, I don't know, with the band, the way that it is, kind of reworking some of the parts that drive Nick crazy, and with the production that we have now, I think it could be cool just to do maybe like an EP off of it or something. But like, again, more than just more for ourselves than for profit. That's, I don't know, it's never really been what we're about, even though at the end of the day it is our jobs. But
Of course.
yeah, we're putting out music because we want to put out music.
Amen. So I do want to talk about, when you were shopping this record, and, at this point, you guys were sitting on it for like 2 years. I'm sure it was like your baby at that point. So when you brought it to Pure Noise, were they trying to have you guys go in and re-record anything, or were they totally like, we love it as is, like, let's go?
Yeah, so the initial conversation with Pure Noise, they were excited, but they maybe didn't come off like as excited as we kind of hoped. So we were like, okay, let's just maybe see if something else comes on the table. And then the whole pandemic hit, and then like all the industry just kind of shut down for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so then after a couple months, we just kind of revisited with Jake, and he revised an offer that was honestly a little bit better for both parties in the long run. And I don't know, it's been pretty good since then. I don't know. They didn't really tell us to change anything. The album had already been done for about a year. I mean, we were doing like some final little like tweaks and little mix notes and things like that, but for the most part, it was done. I think that has some appeal to them too, because it's like a finished product that they didn't have to like put any money for recording, a budget or anything like that. We could put that money into like advertising and music videos and stuff like that. So from their perspective, I think it was a little bit, I don't know, had a little bit more skin in the game to be able to just put it out pretty fast instead of having to wait potentially a year, another 2 years to put the album out.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a win-win. And these days, like, having that extra budget for like social media promotion and stuff, that's a way to get an album to just blow the hell up. And it must be nice to see also how Pure Noise has like created like a second career for some of these veteran bands. Like, they've got a new life when they go back, and sign with Pure Noise. So that's got to be nice to see that, bands on the label are doing exactly what you guys are doing, vets.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, you can kind of come into that level where you're like the nostalgia band, and you kind of like hit that ceiling, and it's like, yes, it's sort of a livable income. You kind of just like maintain, but if you really want to like make a living in the industry, you got to kind of step up to that next like 500 to 1,000 venue capacity venues kind of.
Yeah.
And like the House of Blues kind of circuit. That really kind of, at the end of the day, the guarantees will be enough to put money in your pocket, but who knows how touring's going to be when it comes back, if it comes back.
That's right.
And especially for us being all spread out across the place, like if we were maybe all in one location, we could maybe do like some regional things if certain states and city regulations allowed that, but I have no idea. I'm not getting my hopes up, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I know you guys did the one live stream. So do you have another one planned for the new release? And
Sure.
so are you guys all gonna have to fly to like Florida to do it?
So yeah, I mean, our last live stream, we all flew to Florida. This time, we do have one in the works. I don't think I can release the details, but it's coming up pretty soon. I'm sure it'll announce within the next couple of months. So we're going to fly to Pennsylvania, the studio that we actually recorded the album at, and we're going to do the live stream there. And then we will be in the studio again this fall to work on another album. So
Oh, hell yeah.
Sweet.
yeah, kind of a little bit of spoiler there, but we will be going to the studio to work on another album. So
That's
I
freaking
got to
awesome.
keep grinding. If we can't tour, we're like, might as well go do another album. So
Yeah, and it seems like that's kind of the trend that we're starting to notice, and I'm all for it because great music came out in 2020, great music's coming out in 2021, so I'm all for it.
I wonder what Rivers Cuomo is up to, because like he notoriously, like when there wasn't a global pandemic, he would like go into the studio, and like we know like Weezer records come out like now at this point every like year and a half, but he like notoriously goes into the studio with like 70 songs for a record cycle, and like will demo all 70 of them, and only like 12 of them like make it onto a record.
Wow.
So like I can't imagine what that poor guy's doing. He's probably just like holed up in a studio somewhere, like writing his 850th song. It's just like being like, oh, I've got enough records to release until 2100.
Yeah. Our most popular song was a cover.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's just rough, man. But I that is one thing that you can take solace in during this pandemic, is that there's time. A lot of people have time, and but at the same time, it kind of makes you sad for all the musicians you love, because people that made that jump, right, that were like, in 2019 especially, that were like, should I keep my full-time job or should I just go for my dream? And then December 2019, they're like, screw it, man, I'm going to go for my dream. And then March of 2020 hits, and all of a sudden you quit your job at wherever the hell you worked, and now your touring plans are all smushed, like completely destroyed. So it sucks, in that respect. And I feel for a lot of musicians, venue owners, and all of those that are affected by this. But as a music lover, it's great to know that, like you guys are going into the studio to write another record. And it's like, how many other artists are doing that? But you just got to hope that the artists are being able to at least see some money off of this, because us sitting at home in this pandemic, like a lot, I'm lucky enough, I've got a job, I still buy records, so like you're going to get money from me. But like a lot of people are also struggling that, maybe have to pull back on some of the things that they don't consider essential in their lives. And I think some musicians take a hit on that. So that kind of sucks. That part of it sucks. But, in this pandemic era, from what you've seen, whether it's with the Spill Canvas or in the circles that you run in, like, have you seen some of that clash with some musicians being like, how long can I really, hold out hope for this before, like, I gotta go to my local Publix or Food Lion and, start cutting deli meats?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a very real thing. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be in a situation where I work when I'm not on the road, and they're just kind of cool with me touring. So
Cool.
I'm the only member in the band that like has a full-time gig when I'm home.
Okay.
Yeah. Evan, like, bless his soul, man. I don't know how he does it. Just totally off his solo project and the band, and Nick and Landon are like owners on the LLC, so they're good. They can live off like the band income. Like, that's not a big deal. Like, and Nick does a lot of like those downright things, and he's been
Yeah.
trucking away on those. So we all find ways to do what you got to do. But yeah, I mean, you talk about like some of the bands that did like support for us on some of these like recent tours, like Selfish Things and stuff like that. Some of those bands that, you know, like they quit like everything and like sold everything
Yeah.
for like a van and a trailer and to come and do this full time, and then for this to come and happen, it's just crazy. I don't know. It's like, how can you even really put into words, or like, just, I don't know. It's just very weird. It's a very bleak kind of outlook right now.
It is. It is a bleak outlook, and you know, and those tough, like, they're tough conversations to have, but having them with musicians is always a little bit enlightening, just because, you know, it's the reality of what you guys are going through. And sometimes people who listen to this podcast might not really fully understand that, you know, because, you know, to some people, music is just, it's just like background noise, right? And I mean, for those people, I've always felt some sorrow for that, because it's like, you know, to me, this stuff is like, it's like life to me, man. Like, as a listener, like, you know, I've been a creator in smaller bands, but, you know, as a listener, like, you know, every December when like all of the releases go away, because no one ever releases music like during Christmas time. Mm-hmm. It's always like a big bummer to me, because I'm like, well, nothing's coming out, man. Like, I don't have anything to look forward to on Friday. It's like Friday is like my day. I wake up Friday mornings and I'm like, shit, what came out? Like, what can I go listen to, right? So, but that starts to dwindle in a time like this where, you know, like we talked about, yeah, you might have a lot of time to create, but to create at a level like you guys are creating, you have to have capital to do that, because, you know, I have like a, you know, like an MPK mini, you know, MIDI keyboard. So like, I guess I could write some shit with that. It was $100, but it's like, how are you guys going to write the kind of music that you want to write in a setting like that? So I think people don't understand that you need like cash flow coming in to be able to create the way you want to create.
Yeah. And it's like, we, to help pay for the album, we would like release like merchandise and things like that. And we're like, thankful enough that the company we work with like fronts you the merchandise, you know, because it's like, we didn't have any, like we were paying for the album out of our pockets, living in the studio, like all of our food was out of our own pockets, you know. And then it's like, we would put like merch up to like start to like pay for like the studio expenses and pay off our like merch company at the same time, and then, you know, to like hope to break even a little bit. And we did break even on the album. And then that's another nice thing with like Pure Noise, it's like we don't really go into the deal with them having a ton of debt. We've already like broken even, you know, we're actually already in the green with them, which is really nice.
Yeah, so that's excellent.
But it's just tough, because it's like, not having grassroots fans, how do you get people to buy merch to pay for studio time? I don't know, man. I don't have the answers for those people, unfortunately. Like, I wish I could. Like, just like, my big thing was like, you just need to get out and network and play shows and grind it out. And like, that doesn't exist. You're not supposed to be around people. So it's like, the best thing you can do is like do things like this. I mean, it's like, do as many like live streams as you can, put out as much content and music and video and photo, like whatever you can do, because we're going to have to change the landscape of the industry to be able to fit with the times and to be able to make it profitable. So like, we started the Patreon, and it's just like, we do a podcast and we do like random like playthroughs of songs, and Nick does like breakdowns of lyrics and stuff like that. Just, you know, that's like steady, like monthly income, just anything to, you know, you got to do something. You can't just stay stagnant, you know.
You can't, you absolutely can't. So here's probably the question of the evening, and then I'll toss it to Mikey, and we can finally talk some puck here. But so the real question I have is, what kind of relationship does the Spill Canvas have with 111 Records? Vis-a-vis, do you guys want to make a quick $20,000 And the answer is yes. And the way you do that is you release one fell swoop on vinyl, and 2,000 copies sell out in probably 6 hours.
Yeah. I know. So we have reached out to, I think his name's Brad Fruschetti. He's in that band. What are they called? LFO or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
You laugh, dude, but Girl on a TV is a banger.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So we do have a relationship with him. We've been talking to him and trying to get it worked out. It's been like 2 years, and we're still like grinding at it, trying to make that happen. We are in the process of doing Sunsets on vinyl, so that I think will be.
Oh yeah, you're doing that with
Probably
Ross, right? With Ross,
Yeah.
aren't you? Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Ross,
So that'll
Enjoy
be
the Ride Records, Ross.
I believe so. Yeah,
I
isn't it?
So.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I don't think that's spoiling anything, because I think he posted some sort of a teaser somewhere, and like 2 and 2 were put together in my head, and I just realized, oh yeah, shit, Sunsets is coming out. So that's, I guarantee you that one will fly off the shelves. But so there's so much in the way of nostalgia. Like so much so that me and Mikey started this little stupid segment called Only 2001 and 2005, where we talk about records that only came out between 2001 and 2005, which One Fell Swoop came out in 2005. So I'm just saying,
yeah.
and the crazy thing about it is so as getting back into vinyl collecting, I pine for these old records. Take This to Heart Records just did a repress of Boys Night Out's Trainwreck, and it literally, I think they did 1,000 copies of it, sold out in 20 minutes, right? I don't know if you remember this band called Daphne Loves Derby. They're like an old, you remember that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that I think it's the Strength of All Things Convinced, I believe, is getting a vinyl, like a first vinyl press. That's probably going to go in like an hour. So if you can imagine, Daphne going that quick, imagine how quick One Fell Swoop would go. Staggering, kind of deal where that 200 flippers are going to buy it and just throw it up on eBay for $300, and I'm going to want to kick all of them in the throats for it. But I think that that's such a cool thing, because it's a tangible piece of something that all of these, people our age, like Mikey and I's age, where we were 16 and 17 and 18 when all this great music came out, and now we're in our mid 30s and we've got homes and apartments and record players and kids and wives and all this crazy shit. But above all, that little 12 by 12 record in my hands is super important to me. I don't know how else to say it. It's just something about it is just I have it in my hands. It's mine. I own a piece of 2005. So I don't know, man. I just think there's a huge place for that. And I also think that you should just do it and ask questions later. And that's it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I wish. No, it's funny because the only vinyl that was ever put out was that Scraps, and that's a super sought after, rare, hard to find. And before I was even in the band, I went to Ernie November, which is a local mom and pop record store, and I got it for $30.
That's about where that's my Scrap story. So I'm collecting records now again. I started last summer. But between 2012 and 2016, I was an avid record collector. And before I ended up selling off my collection, I think I had something absurd, man, 900 LPs. It was bad. It was bad. But it was also at a time where record collecting wasn't as diverse as it is now. And also stuff that was pressed that had never been repressed was still a little bit easier to get. So I got my copy of Scraps off of Discogs for I think maybe $20, right? It sat on a shelf for 2 years. And I ended up, when I sold it, I think I only sold it maybe for $30. And then I went onto Discogs like the other day to do a little bit of research. And I think like, I don't think there's any copies up now, but the last copy sold for $125.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I saw the last one sold for that. Someone apparently ordered it to the store and then just never came and picked it up.
Oh man!
And then I was like, oh, the spill canvas, like they're from here. I'll just buy this.
There you go.
And then it was so weird. But yeah, actually, someone on Discogs messaged me like, hey, I saw you have like a copy of Scraps. Like, was wondering if I could like buy it off you. And I was like, unfortunately, like this is like the only vinyl that the band's pressed, and like it's the only copy. Like me and Nick are the only ones in the band who have it. And they didn't even know I was like in the band or anything. They're like, oh my god, like I just realized who you are. Like I'm so sorry. Like
yeah,
like
you should have made it way more awkward. You should have been like, yeah, I need it so I can learn how to play all these songs, man. Like,
yeah, right.
Like I don't know how to play these songs. What are you're gonna take that away from me? Where
Yeah.
you're gonna become the drummer now?
I only listen to them on vinyl.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
All the B-sides.
I play through it on vinyl, and that's how I do it. 1 to 100. I love it. So, I appreciate you indulging me with all of this Spill Canvas talk, like I said, because the last time you were on, I wasn't able to be on with you, so I didn't get to hear all these cool stories. So, I really appreciate it. I love this kind of stuff. But this is not just a music podcast. This is a music hockey podcast.
A daddy podcast. So let's just talk
Yeah.
being new dads.
Yeah, talk about being dads.
Yeah, man.
And then we'll mix in hockey.
So yeah, I mean, I guess like one kind of silver lining in this whole pandemic is I had a ton of time off from the road, and will have a ton of time off from the road to raise my daughter, who's 10 months now.
Oh yeah, man.
It's
That's
crazy,
good. So
dude.
awesome. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. She's like almost walking. She takes like a handful of steps now. It's crazy. I was looking at old pictures of her today, like almost crying because I'm like, how are you, my baby? This giant child now is my baby. It was once my baby. So.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
it's been great.
Because that last tour you guys did, your wife was still pregnant at that point. And then like, how much has the world and your life changed in that like less than a year? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, like now that I have her, I don't know how I ever like lived my life without having a kid. It's really weird. But like she definitely like changed my life for the better, that little shit. She's awesome. She's so funny, so happy, so smiley, like makes my day worth living for sure, especially during like these uncertain times. It's really nice just coming home to family, and I don't know. I love them. They're awesome.
And talk about baby farts, man. I had no idea how loud they were.
Oh, dude, they're brutal. That's why. Yeah, so my daughter, her nickname is Tootie Butt.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I call her Tootie, like more than I call her Ollie, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Brutal
it's
farts, man.
brutal, man. I obviously you know that they're constantly like pooping their pants, but you don't realize that they are as loud as a grown ass man. Like,
Oh yeah.
rips, and it's so funny because she now smiles when she rips. Like, so like we do like the whole like bicycle to try to get some of the gas, so you're like bicycling her legs, and then she just rips and then smiles, like, and it just brings me to tears, man. It's so funny.
I
What
mean,
do you
that's
think-
like,
Oh, that first poop you had to change.
Oh, that like black
was like,
crazy whatever it was called. It's
like
got
tar,
like a special
dude.
name.
Dude, it looks like someone just like spit a whole bag of Redmond into a diaper.
Yeah.
The long cut chew, dude.
Yeah, it's
Brutal.
honestly like the first couple of weeks, that like weird smelling black poop that they're pooping out from like,
That's
I guess,
an experience.
yeah, I will not forget that.
What
at
was
all.
like the COVID procedure? Did you have to wear like a mask anytime someone was in the room?
Yes, I did. I was
Did-
lucky though because
Did she have to wear one when she gave birth?
yeah, oh yeah, I was like in like full hazmat like get up basically.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's like anytime a nurse was in the room, you had to have a mask on, stuff like that. It was basically during the peak of the pandemic here is when we were in the hospital, and like the midwives and stuff, like some of them weren't even didn't even know that they had just put into force like the mask mandate. They're like, oh, they're gonna make you wear a mask when you give birth, and they're like, yeah, that's what they told us. It was very odd time, very odd time. I was the only one that was allowed
Same.
to be in there and that kind of thing, like which honestly was kind of a blessing, just being able to sleep, because I was trying to think of it like, just imagine all the people coming in and stuff, like trying to see you. Oh man, I was exhausted as it was, so being able to sleep
And
was
whoever like manufactured those recliner chairs that the dads are supposed to chill in and sleep in, I want to
terrible.
find them and like light poop
Dude.
on their lawn, because they are the most uncomfortable chairs ever. It's and they're made for like giants, and I'm 5'5" on a good day, so I'm sitting in the chair, my feet aren't even hitting the ground, and I'm feeling like a little toddler, and I'm holding a baby. It's just a weird seat.
I think my neck was like permanently like stuck like this for a week after sleeping in that like chair thing.
Yeah, seriously. But we can't let our wives hear this, because they'd be like, "What are you bitching about right now? Like, you have no right."
After you got the epidural, everything was smooth sailing, honey. I didn't get any good drugs. You got all the fun stuff.
Yeah,
seriously.
See?
My wife was actually like turning them down. She's like totally PC about things, so she was like, "Yeah, I guess I'm not in so much pain. I'll be okay." If I was in her situation, I'd be like, "Yep, higher that dosage. My pain level's a 10. Let's go."
Another oxy. I'll take another oxy.
I just like, to me, it's weird, right? Because I've known Caitlin for as long as like you've known Caitlin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, to me, it's just weird to think that like Caitlin like gave birth to like a child. It's weird
like
to say
nature,
it,
bro. That kind of stuff happens.
I get it. Like, I get that you like I get that like you did whatever dirty, disgusting thing you did. Like, I don't care about that. But it's just like, I don't know. There's something about it. It's like, as I grow older, like my like clear lucid expectation is that everyone is going to get married and have kids. But like, still, it's just like, I've known her for so long that like, I can't imagine her in that position. Just like, I can imagine her being that way because that's how I know Caitlin, just being like, well, no, like I guess I really don't need like another drip, because like it's not really that bad, when in reality like it was probably like excruciating. But like, that's just like Caitlin's nature. It's just like, sort of, I'm fine, downplay it kind of deal. But like, I'm sure in her mind she was like, she probably just wanted to rip your face off, just right off of your face. Off. Face off. Nicolas Cage. Face off. But you know what I think is fantastic is like, so now like you have this whole, and both of you guys do, but like, so, but you specifically, Mikey, like you have this new perspective on things. It's like some of the things that like I do, knowing that like I'm in a a relationship where like I have a dog, but like it's dog's not a kid. But like, now everything that you do, both of you guys do, you probably think first like, okay, well, how does this affect my child? So like, what does that mindset immediately just drop in, or is it something that you've got to kind of like sort of start learning? Or does it like just instinctively like kick in, where all of a sudden you're like, okay, I have a kid, and like, I see that shiny thing, but I know that like I can't get this shiny thing. Like, you got kind of what I'm saying? Like, how does that change for you?
I think once you actually see your child, the feeling you get, that's kind of that instinct that takes over immediately. And it's like, nothing in the world will come before this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then at that point it's basically game over. As far as like, that's how my experience was. Is like, as soon as I saw her, I'm like, oh, it's game over. whatever she needs, you know. I feel like that's probably how it is for a lot of dads. Like you can't really explain that feeling until it happens, and then it all kind of makes sense, you know.
Yeah, like I went in thinking like, oh, I wasn't gonna be like the dad that cries of happiness, because I've never cried like of happiness, and it just like happened, and it was just like such a weird feeling because I was like smiling and like so like the happiest day of my life, but then crying tears. It was just like I never felt that emotion before. Not even like when I got married. Like I was extremely happy when I got married and like all my friends and family were there, but I still didn't cry that day. But then like once the doctor handed me the baby, I was just like done. This is like had no control.
It's weird. It's kind of like a new you was born almost. Like you almost get like this kind of like new rejuvenation. And it's weird. I can't even explain it. It's very hippy dippy shit.
People are like, wait,
the aura just changes, man. Like,
what podcast am I listening to right now? Is this the view of dads now?
Is this the talk?
Yeah, seriously. But we do talk hockey, and Bryce is a hockey fan, and we've
it's about to be face-off time, boys.
Yeah. Well, I
got
was
it on
just
my
like,
other TV.
And we don't usually talk about the games that like while we're recording happening. But Tom, did you check to see what happened in the third period? Like the Islanders went off and scored
goals, deals.
5 goals in the third period. Kind of crazy.
And you know what? I think the Islanders needed that. You know, they really did, and especially against a team like the Bruins, who are really a powerhouse of a team. I mean, like the Islanders really needed a game where they just scored, because that's something that the team really isn't. They're not known as scorers. You know, they're not known as like, you know, being offensive powerhouses. So great that they did.
We're also not known to beat the Bruins, but something has changed this season.
Can't beat the Pens, though. I don't know what's going on there.
I'm sure our boys in the Seltzer Time podcast are not appreciating the fact that the Islanders is just
they're probably just ripping like Topo Chicos just like angrily. Like, bro, homie's probably drank like 10 of them right now. He's probably just got seltzer gut. He's probably burping everywhere, and he's just like, goddamn Bruins, goddamn Mikey, goddamn Islanders. Love it. I should really actually just say, Can I try? I'll try to do it. Ready? No, can I do it? I can't really do a Boston accent. I'm going to try, though. So he's probably like, hey, goddamn. Nope. Sorry. Can't do it.
Fucking Islanders, man.
See, that's a little bit better than what I was going to do. Yeah, you got to go to Dunkin'. Dunkin', get a
Dunkin' cold brew, man.
Yeah, get your Dunkin' cold brew, get your seltzers here.
Seltzers here.
Yes, fucking Chara. Fucking David Pasternak.
Chara doesn't even play for the Bruins.
I know he doesn't.
Tom doesn't know. Tom just we were recording with Nate from. I'm never gonna let you live this up. Like,
no,
live
that
this
one
down.
sucked.
We're
sucked.
We're recording with Nate from Judah and the Lion, who's an Avalanche fan. And Tom is just like reading some guy's fantasy hockey roster as being like the legit roster of the Avalanche.
Oh no.
It was bad. So here's all.
He's like, oh, so how do you feel about having Holtby and have like just going through the list of players that are not on the Avalanche?
So what I was doing, right, is I was on Cap Friendly, and I was like looking at stuff, and I guess I somehow made it onto like, it was like a Cap Friendly page for the Avs talking about like what their cap would be like if they had signed like all of the top free agents, and I didn't realize it. And like, I'll be honest, like I'm not as familiar with the teams in the West as the teams in the East. So like I'm going through it, and like I'm like, yeah, so like, you know, you guys are fielding a great team, you know, like Landeskog and all this stuff, and like it's like, all right, he's on the right track, and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, and like you guys got Braden Holtby in net, and fucking Sergei Fedorov, and fucking, you know, Joe Sakic, and all of a sudden he's like, and he's like nice enough to be like, yeah, okay, and then like when there was finally like a silence, I was like, and before anyone gets on me about this, like I do realize that I fucked up. And then like, dude was just like, yeah, you did. I didn't want to say it, but you did. And
I left
I
it
don't,
in there, and I did not chop it out or anything.
look,
and I was like,
incredible.
as
Tom's
you
gonna
should
live
have,
with that.
because truthfully, like when you make like an error that steep, it's got to stay in there. It's got to stay in there. But I mean, like it could be worse. Like I could have been like, so like Bryce, like, you know, you've, you know, you're in the spill canvas, you get to play all this great music. Like, what was it like playing on, like, learning the songs from Is a Real Boy or like something like that? Then you would have been like, it was fun, I guess.
Yeah.
If I can learn that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that was a bad one. That was not the best one in the world. But I gotta say though, where we're at in the season right now, a lot of interesting things are happening, but it's a bummer that kind of COVID is rearing its ugly head all over the place.
I'm just gonna watch Tom go, because Tom probably has no idea what team you root for, so I'm just gonna let him eat his words.
No, I don't actually.
He's like, wait, I know they're from South Dakota. Who the hell is this guy gonna like? Like, South Dakota don't have
it's
a team.
random as hell too.
Right,
Doesn't make any sense as to why I like this team.
So you are a Nashville Predators fan?
No.
Far away?
Yes.
Am I very far away?
Very far.
Am I like? Is it way farther up north than that?
Yes, like a different country.
Oh, Bud, he's an Oilers fan. All right.
Fan.
Mark Messier, Wayne Gretzky. All right, excellent. Yeah, man. That's awesome though, because you get to watch Connor McDavid play, and he is just
and Mary Lemieux, and who else?
Michael Jordan,
Grant Fuhr in net.
Grant Fuhr in net. But dude, I mean, like, so having like a bona fide superstar like that is like kind of something else. And I mean, as an Islander fan,
you guys got that in Barzal.
I mean, Barzy's good, but I mean, he's no McDavid.
He's not McDavid. I don't think anyone's McDavid.
No, I don't think so.
The guy is crazy, but like, I don't know. I'd say a lot of people kind of counted us out to begin the season, but I think we'll at least make the playoffs. I mean, at least how it's looking right now, unless we totally like shit the bed, which in Oilers fashion could most definitely happen and probably will happen. But I'm staying optimistic. We're looking pretty good. We beat some pretty tough teams. And a lot of the Canadian division kind of looks like shit right now. So
yeah, I want to talk about that, because, as Tom has mentioned, we don't watch as many like West Coast games as we probably should run in a hockey podcast, but we just don't.
No, understandable.
But like this all Canadian division, I really haven't been able to watch many of those games either. So like, do you feel like there's crazy bad blood brewing already? Like, obviously you guys have your rivalries with like Calgary and such, but like, is there more, like, especially since now you're playing like the Maple Leafs 8 times, do you feel like there's some kind of bad blood brewing?
There's a little. I think it's gonna take, maybe game 8 to really like, or game like 6. I think that we play Calgary like 10 times.
Oh my God.
So like it'll be, like game 7 before we're really like annoyed, I think. But they're definitely starting to get chippy. I don't know. It's a fast, quick division. Toronto and us have just been killing it. Canadians are taking a dump, and Vancouver's taking a big dump, and Ottawa, obviously, we won't even talk about Ottawa.
I honestly, I was thinking that Ottawa could surprise people, but I guess it's not turning out that way.
Me too. No. I was like kind of hoping they would be that wild card, but it has been very disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah, and I was saying the same, like the Sabres. I was like, maybe the Sabres, like with like Skinner and Hall and like, all their other superstars that they have. I was like, maybe the Sabres can do it, but they're not looking so hot either.
Oh no, it's been very disappointing.
And I mean the Rangers even, like I swore up and down, like, you know, the Rangers, they didn't make huge moves. They made little moves, you know, here and there. But like everyone was talking about Lafreniere, like he was going to be like the, you know, like the next big thing. And, you know, he's now
I think
kind of.
what we need to realize is that first-year NHL players don't traditionally pop off like you would think. Like, there's a few rare exceptions, you know, the Crosbys, the McDavids, you know, like if you think about it, like even like Stamkos, his first year wasn't like blowing up the league. Like it takes
That's
time,
true.
and even Matt Barzal, like think about it. Yes, he won the Calder, but he played like 13 games the year before, and looked terrible. Like people who were saying like, oh my god, like this might be a bust. Like maybe he's not as good as we thought he was going to be. And then it takes time. He developed his game a little bit more in the West WHL, and then he's obviously our best player now. So I don't think we have to worry quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right, but who knows?
I mean, unless you go to the AHL right away, like these kids are used to playing like their age group, and then you get into the show, and it's like you got like fucking Chara breathing up your throat, bro. Like I would fucking shit my pants, dude. So like I don't blame these kids. Like it's obviously going to take time for them to grow into their bodies and kind of like get used to the pace of the game. But yeah, it's a man's game, and there's a lot of young kids that come in, and it's definitely not going to pan out right away. Because it's not like just, I don't know, it's getting more towards like speed and skill, but there'll always be that need for like that physical grit for sure.
For sure. And I guess before we let you go, you know, real quick, you know, we've had Jake on the show. Jake's a huge hockey fan. Has it come up yet that you know you're also a hockey fan? He's got another one on the label.
It is not. I have not like really. We all kind of got on a Skype call when we first like kind of signed the deal, but I have not like really like personally reached out. I know he's got a ton on his plate, especially like the little bit we do talk. It's all he's like really been positive about the pre-sales and stuff on the album, but I would definitely like to get a jersey and maybe shoot some pucks with the team ASAP. That would be very nice. But as far as reaching out, I haven't chatted with him yet, but I would like to for sure.
So, so very famously, Misery Signals put out a dope Oilers shirt. Like it's like literally the Oilers logo, and it just says Misery Signals on it. So, what's the chance that, you know, the Spilly boys end up putting out a
the Solar Bear?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, because technically, yeah, right. Because I mean, well, so how, like, as far as like Florida is concerned, how many of you guys are actually in Florida?
Sure. So, Nick and Evan live in Florida, but as I say that, Nick is packing to move to Los Angeles, and Evan is packing to move to Austin, Texas.
Wow. Okay.
Then I live in South Dakota, and Landon lives in Wisconsin. So
okay, yeah. So you guys are
really
literally all over the place. Yeah, that's wild. But yeah, you know, that'd be something else if you guys did some Oilers stuff. I always say to myself, like, you know, being so into vinyl, like, oh, like, you know, it probably shouldn't be that hard to do like a blue and orange, like, and like, you know, white tricolor split on like a record or something, and not realizing that like shit costs so much money. But you know, if you guys were gonna do that, I mean, look, the colorways that you guys got going on for Conduit are really super cool. Like, I think, what is it, like a mix of like purple, yellow, and green, most of it, right? I think.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's cool. You know, Mikey doesn't know about that because he sold all his records. So, you know,
I support bands other ways. I like the band merch and the hoodies and the attire side of things, and then obviously, you know, I'm a CD buyer. I still and now that I've taken over Caitlin's car, her car still has like the 5-disc CD changer, and our new car doesn't even have a CD changer, like a CD player at all. So
Okay.
I've gotten the old ride now, so I'm gonna be stepping up my CD game. I'm gonna bring that back and make that cool. Probably
Mixtapes.
not.
No, man. Until they have cars that just have a built-in turntable that you can just slide your 12-inch LP in like a fucking pizza oven.
Like the
Here,
laser
you know?
discs that we had when we were in middle school.
Oh
Like
yeah, man.
pre DVD days.
Those were awesome, man. All you did with those laser discs is just like your 6th grade science teacher just chucked them in and you just watched about like iguanas for like an hour. It was great. They were like so loud and humongous. Like I can't believe that things like that existed, but sure as hell did. They
Now,
sure as hell did.
Bryce, it just came to me and I was like, all right, I want to ask this question before we let him go. When I caught you guys here in North Carolina, your like bus that you had parked in the lot, it's like a vintage bus. Like, tell me about that, because I know like Me Without You, they had a famous bus that they actually put on merch designs and shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
what's up with yours?
I saw that bus.
The Me Without You bus, it ran, by the
Mhm.
way, real quick to interject, motherfucker ran on vegetable oil, just so you know.
Yeah, it did. Stunk like fucking French fries.
It was gross, yeah.
Stunk like French fries. Yeah. So, I previously mentioned our manager. He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He does everything. He audio engineers, tour manages, and he also happens to be basically a co-owner of this company called UFO. And so, this bus was basically an old school bus that a band had built and converted into an RV, and then they basically bought that and then tore out the shell and then rebuilt it. So yeah, it's definitely not like anything I've ever seen. It's it's very wild. It's tight and cramped, but it's got a lot of character. And yeah, I think we're gonna be taking it for the most part on most of our tours. It's fun, man. It's, I don't know, like bandwagons and stuff are cool and everything, but I don't know. There's something about just having the character of like the old school bus kind of vibe. But yeah, I would say it's vintage. It's been around for quite a while now. Multiple bands have owned it, and now it's ours. So
Now, do you have to have a special driver for that, or are you guys learning how to drive school buses?
yeah. So so we have a driver. Yeah. So he drove our Bottle of Red tour when we had a bandwagon, and then like I said, our manager's a Swiss Army knife. Good buddies with him out of nowhere, and so now he works for UFO, and basically any tour we do, he drives for us.
Sweet.
So yeah,
Sweet.
we got a bunk on the bus for him. The only thing different between the school bus and a bandwagon is he has to sleep on the bus with us. He doesn't like get his own like separate bunk thing, but that dude passes out so hard it doesn't really matter if we're up during the day. Like, he sleeps so hard. Like his alarm will be going off in the morning when he's got to get up and drive us, and I'm like, well, your alarm's been going off for like 10 minutes. I'm like, come on, dude. It's so funny. But yeah, so a little character to it. I want to do some like cooler paint kind of scheme to it than just the all black. I think we're gonna put a big UFO on it.
Nice.
But it won't be as cool as Me Without You's, unfortunately.
I mean, look, like, try as you might, but like, it's just hard to be as cool as Me Without You. It just is. I mean, not everyone like has 150 songs all about different like Christian allegories, like just painted and decorated in different ways. What a band! What a band! So, Bryce, bunch of hippies, man, bunch of hippies from Philadelphia. One day we'll tell you the story about the first time Mikey saw Me Without You and was super drunk and kept yelling "Dayman" at them because they were from Philly.
Nice.
That's all he did, and that was actually the same show that we saw KK and his Weathered Underground. The homie had a tuba, right?
That's correct.
See, it's just all things come back to the tuba, and that's where we'll let this episode fizzle out into the universe. Bryce, dude, it's been such a blast to have you on here. all the best for Conduit. Which when does it come out, Mikey? Since I don't know.
So like this episode comes out Tuesday, Conduit comes out on Friday, so March 5th.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it comes out on March 5th. Make sure that if you're a Spotify or Apple Music guy, you pre-save that shit. I think there's a couple of copies left on the Pure Noise website. I think most of them sold out, though. I know that the variant I got is gone, so sucks to be you guys. I got it. But
Slept on it.
if you slept on it, that's your fault. But you can come over to my house and listen to it. That's fine. I'll give you my address. The address is Suck It in Florida. But dude, it's really been great to chat with you, man. I'm a huge fan of the band. I love the stuff you've done on the record that I listened to so far. All the grooves are great. I can't wait to listen to the rest of it. So all the best to you and your daughter in 2021. Can't wait to check out the live stream stuff that you're going to be doing, and the inevitable record that probably comes out in 2023, I guess, or whenever you're putting it out. So long live the Spill Canvas, and I guess all hail the
Heartbreakers.
Heartbreaker.
I just wanted you to say it. I didn't want to be the guy that says it. All hail the Fartbreaker, everybody. Yo, Bryce, again, super pumped to have you, man. Thank you so much. And you have a great rest of your night, all right?
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it as always.
Hell yeah, man.
Take care.
Thanks, Bryce.